watching the It's Her Time podcast with Cody and Jess. Hi, welcome back to the It's Her Time podcast. My name is Cody Sanders, and I'm a holistic health practitioner and functional nutritionist and the host of the show. And today we're going to be talking about the best and worst breakfast foods for hormone health. Now, when it comes to breakfast, the tip I always used to share with my clients to help them optimize their hormonal balance every day was that the first meal of the day is what sets you up for success. It's an opportunity for you to support your insulin sensitivity, your reproductive hormones, and for you to reduce stress levels on your body. There's a ton of research that backs this up. A healthy breakfast sets the stage for hormone balance throughout the day, which is critical for women at all stages of life. You can use breakfast as part of a hormone-balanced diet to address PCOS, PMS, perimenopause, or whatever aspect of your overall hormonal health you want to improve. So yes, getting the right type of breakfast is a big deal, but not all breakfasts are created equal. On today's episode, I want to go into all of it. Let's talk about how to choose a hormone-loving breakfast and how to avoid breakfasts that are not supportive of your hormonal health. As is the case with most nutrition topics, we hear a lot of different opinions. Thoughts on breakfast are no exception. Some say breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Others say to skip it or delay breakfast for intermittent fasting benefits. Food companies promote quick, easy breakfasts like premade shakes, bars, cereals. But as we'll get into, eating these types of meals as part of your daily diet can do more harm than good to your hormones. Let's get to the bottom of the breakfast debate and learn why switching up your breakfast routine might be the best thing that you can do for your hormones. But before we do, let's go into a Mixhers Girls Say.
Hi, everyone. On today's Mixhers Girls Say, we're actually going to walk you through what we did on our Instagram stories the other day, which was a quiz all about caffeine. Mm-hmm. And there's so many things that I have learned through the years working with Mixhers, growing Mixhers, and thankfully learning from Cody about caffeine and what it can do to your hormone health. I know that so many of you relate to being a woman that is maybe functioning low on sleep, consistently looking for sources of energy. Even if you're getting sleep, you might be feeling those lulls throughout the day. It is not uncommon to be someone that is looking for an additional source of energy. I'm so grateful to now know so much more about the power of nutrition because my goodness, just fueling your body helps with energy levels all day long. However, we also know that there are powerful ingredients out there that can be all natural that can also boost your levels of energy. What often is not understood is synthetic caffeine and what is marketed towards women and how much that caffeine can actually negatively impact your hormone health. And so we wanted to provide some information about synthetic caffeine and, what it can do to your hormone health, and then talk a little bit about Mixhers Energy and how our product is not a hormone disruptor and is a great solution for the times of day that you're needing a little pick-me-up.
I love it.
So first, couple questions.
Okay.
Cody, let's talk about what women are reporting about their menstrual cycles and the use of caffeine. I thought it was so interesting to think about how we've read about how the use of caffeine, women are actually reporting irregular menstrual cycles. And what do you think about that?
Well, I'm not surprised at all. But a lot of times we don't connect the dots that if we're having irregular menstrual cycles, we're not thinking it's because of the daily caffeine that we're taking in every day. Because I think we don't even think or even pay attention to the amount of caffeine that we're putting into our bodies. So many of us just wake up first thing in the morning, we have our source of caffeine, and then we have another one later in the afternoon. And what it's doing is it's putting your body into a stress state. And whenever our body is in a stress state, it always trickles down and affects our hormone levels and our balance. And so when our hormones are imbalanced, it's going to show up with signs like irregular periods and, cramping and bloating and poor sleep and all of the things that go along with hormone imbalance. And so I love that people are at least talking about this now because I just want the awareness to be there that yes, caffeine, especially synthetic caffeine, can very much disrupt your hormone balance. So
And I think something that was interesting for me to know and for me to find out is that the report is stating that women that are drinking just 200 milligrams and more of caffeine are recognizing an impact on their hormone balance. So that requires awareness with what you're drinking, because that can be in just one drink.
Yep.
Which I am guilty of being someone that has consumed and can consume those drinks. So this is not to be a guilt trip type of conversation. It's awareness of, oh my gosh, I'm having irregular menstrual cycles. What is this tied to? Like, what am I feeling? What's wrong with my health? And it's awareness of knowing, oh my gosh, I didn't know that every day when I'm drinking 3 cans of X, that's contributing to my irregular menstrual cycles. So hopefully that's helpful for any of you that are listening and are maybe experiencing irregularity. Cody, true or false?
Okay.
High caffeine has been associated with reduced fertility in women.
True. And again, it's also with men as well. So we had a podcast that went out. It's probably been 2 years ago now. And it's our by far number one listened to podcast. And it's what every woman should know about caffeine. And I go into that episode. I talk a ton about how caffeine really, really hurts our fertility. And so many people that we know, we have so many good friends that have really struggled. And I'm not saying this is their only reason, but I'm just saying we have so many people that we care about that have struggled with fertility. They've gone through all these different fertility treatments. That alone is just stressful. But when we are also not realizing that caffeine and other things like that are also contributing to the problem, there's just some easy fixes that we can actually just start implementing that will just overall do your body good. But especially if you're somebody that is struggling with infertility, paying attention to how much caffeine you're taking in is going to be an important step.
I love it. Okay. Something I found absolutely wild is guess what percentage of Americans consume caffeine daily?
Can I guess? I don't know the answer to this.
I know. And Cody, you don't know these answers beforehand, but I mean, I guessed and was completely wrong the other day.
Really? What did you guess?
I guessed 60%.
Okay, I'm going to guess probably 90%.
You're spot on. I realized once I said 60%, well, I just feel like not everyone consumes coffee.
No.
Not everyone consumes soda. I know that there's high amounts of people that do, but then I don't know. I thought I was like, okay, well, I know a ton of people use pre-workout. I know a ton of people, I was trying to weigh it up. 90%.
Oh, it is 90%.
Yeah, you're spot on.
Well, that was a lucky guess. It's just because I've worked with so many people and I know, I've talked about this before and I'll just quickly talk about it in case you haven't heard this. One of the things that was a big motivator for us to make our supplements in a drinkable form is you guys know about how it increases absorbency. The other thing is I really just wanted to have us have something that could replace all of these unhealthy drinks that are hormone disruptive. And so because it is so common, pretty much every person that I worked with had some kind of drink that they were turning to, whether it was morning, afternoon, or night, that was kind of emotional. It was like this emotional experience for them. And it's like, they would tell me things like, it's what gets me through my day. It's the only thing I have to look forward to. And I thought if we could give them something that is going to be something that they enjoy, but it's actually going to give them health benefits instead of disrupt their hormones and make them feel horrible, then win. So yeah, that's probably, where I'm getting the 90% from, because at least that many people that I worked with were having issues with caffeine.
Well, and commonly associated with caffeine intake is, yes, you feel a spike of energy, but that also can come along with anxious feelings, jitters, and a crash within a couple hours after caffeine intake. So I know a common question, and we'll wrap this up quickly, but a common question is, well, then why is Mixhers energy acceptable? And how is that not a hormone disruptor? And so in Mixhers energy, we have a green tea extract that is in the formula, taurine and L-theanine. Cody, why is Mixhers energy okay for women to be consuming?
It's okay because it has L-theanine in it as well as the taurine. And what that does, we also have added rhodiola to it. And what that does is it counteracts the negative effects of caffeine. And the fact that this caffeine is being sourced from something that is natural, our body is better able to understand what to do with it. I think Mother Nature just did an incredible job when she created green tea. It's full of antioxidants. It's been shown to help us to live longer, help us to live healthier. And with that caffeine that comes in the green tea, it also naturally provides L-theanine. And L-theanine is an amino acid that is known as an anti-caffeine molecule. Like I said earlier, it diminishes the negative effects that caffeine could possibly have on your adrenal system. The other thing to note is that it's very different than a lot of other drinks that are out there. Like Jess was saying, a lot of these energy drinks that are out there that I know a lot of people love drinking 1 or 2 a day have around 200 milligrams of caffeine. A cup of coffee, just a small cup, 8 ounces, it got about 110 milligrams of coffee. What you're going to find in Mixhers Energy is only 30 milligrams of caffeine total. So it's just enough to give you that boost that you need, but it's not enough that's going to put a lot of strain on our adrenal system or our stress system.
Well, if you're interested, grab Mixhers Energy. The flavors are delicious, and we hope that these products can also help you feel more supported with your energy levels. Now we'll get into the episode. Mixhers is a company made for women by women. Each of our products have been carefully and lovingly crafted to support you in all stages of your life, providing you with the optimal health you deserve. Each ingredient we handpick is 100% all natural, backed by science, and chosen specifically to better your life physically, mentally, and hormonally. Each product empowers your body to take charge of its monthly hormonal shift and flows, empowering you to live life to the fullest. Let Mixhers take care of your needs from sunup to sundown, and you take care of the rest. Check us out at mixhers.com, Mixhers.
Okay, if you are experiencing drops in energy following breakfast or feeling hangry attacks just hit hours after eating, it's time for you to do a little investigation on how your hormone imbalance and your diet might be connected. Now, in the morning, our cortisol, one of our stress hormones, spikes to help wake us up. This is the right time of day for it to be elevated. As the day goes on, then cortisol just gradually declines, reaching its lowest point at bedtime. Now, as I've shared in other episodes, cortisol imbalances can lead to fatigue and issues with our periods. Now, insulin, which is a hormone that enables our glucose, which is our blood sugar, to enter into the cell, is closely connected with cortisol levels. In fact, higher hormone levels of cortisol in the morning are associated with higher fasting blood sugar levels and higher probability of developing type 2 diabetes. Now, both cortisol and insulin levels create the foundation of our hormone health and are necessary for healthy hormones and for a healthy weight. Now, unfortunately, what we've been taught to eat for breakfast can actually sabotage all of our hormones, including our thyroid hormones and our sex hormones and our hunger hormones. Now, most common breakfast foods are ultra processed convenience items. I won't even call them foods. Now, these foods deliver a lot of calories from sugar and refined carbohydrates and industrial fats, but they do not provide us with a lot of nutrition. Now, some very common breakfast foods are things like cereal and pancakes and waffles and bagels and toast and muffins and pastries, breakfast bars, protein bars, juice, or just like fruit-only smoothies, or having yogurt that's been sweetened, or like sugary coffee beverages and things like that. This is super common in our culture for sure. Now, but what happens after eating a simple carb or a sugary coffee only breakfast is what it does is it produces a significant insulin response. And that increases our stress levels even more. So insulin enters our bloodstream and it signals that our cells should take up the blood glucose. Then blood sugar dips, leaving us feeling hungry and irritated. And in this case, our breakfast sets us up for a blood sugar roller coaster and hormonal imbalances, making it very hard to manage our weight and to even just feel our best. So skipping breakfast isn't always the better choice. Now, while some people benefit from intermittent fasting, research shows that missing breakfast can increase the risk of weight gain, obesity, and even metabolic dysfunction. If you are someone who is experiencing hormone imbalance and your body is already feeling stressed, skipping breakfast also leads to lower energy expenditure, meaning that you're going to end up burning less calories and burn them slower throughout the day, which can then have a negative impact on our weight. So let's talk about the effects of sugar. So we know it's no secret that excess dietary sugar is harmful to our health. Now, sugar consumption increases things like the risk for things like cavities, weight gain, diabetes, heart disease, gout, cancers are a big one, mood disorders, hormone imbalances, microbiome imbalances. That leads to having menstrual cycle irregularities and just so much more. Now, it's recommended that as women that we only consume no more than 25 grams of sugar per day. Now, I know that seems low, but in reality, that is about 6 teaspoons of sugar. And believe it or not, that is the amount that is in half a can of typical soda. So tracking your sugar intake can be very eye-opening. It's good to know what our max should be, but I will also say that, of course, there are so many benefits that come to going even lower than that 25 grams. Okay, let's get into carbs because carbs can get a really bad rap. Not all carbs are created equal, though. I want to point that out. Now, whole food carbohydrates like whole grains, legumes, starchy veggies and fruit, they come packed with fiber and they are full of powerful micronutrients that naturally control our blood sugar response. Carbohydrates are not just good for us. The right ones are essential actually for our hormones and for our overall health. But refined carbohydrates, on the other hand, like flour and sugar in many of the processed breakfast foods that we eat, they don't provide us with that built-in protection and can cause higher spikes in our blood sugar. A high refined carbohydrate diet messes with our physical and our mental health, and it increases the risk of us developing a chronic disease and can even lead to mood disorders and so much worse. So it's good to know that it's not necessarily important for us to go low carb, but now we all know that carbohydrate quality is what matters. So I want to address a little bit about processed foods. Now, as convenient as they are, ultra-processed foods are filled with refined carbohydrates. They have the added sugars. They have inflammatory fats. They're full of preservatives. They have colors, artificial colors and flavors, and a lot of other additives. In fact, they likely don't have any of the ingredients that you would actually be able to recognize as real food. Now, processed foods are made to be highly palatable, and guess what? They have been scientifically developed to keep you craving and then buying and eating more of them. Those sneaky little scientists, or should I say the sneaky little food companies, because they know how to keep you coming back for more. Now, these foods come with majorly high health consequences. So much so that Harvard Public Health has called for the FDA to ban them, and other countries have already banned them and have cited many of the ingredients found in processed foods to significantly increase our risk of developing cancer. So if you notice increased hunger and cravings after you've had a processed food type breakfast, yeah, that's your body telling you that they've got you hooked. And so you need to pay attention to that and maybe rethink and take a different approach when it comes to breakfast. Okay, so how do we build a hormone-friendly and healthy breakfast? Well, I'd say go in the complete opposite direction than the standard American diet. And instead, choose real food and build your meal around protein, some fresh, organic, if possible, produce, and think about that fiber. This formula is the key to creating a blood sugar balancing breakfast and a daily diet for hormone balance. Now, we talked a couple weeks ago about our recommended protein intake and what it should be. Now, in case you missed the episode, I'll do a quick little reminder. The recommended protein intake for women is 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So if you're a 150-pound woman, then this would come in to be around 55 grams of protein. Now, while this is the recommendation, I want to point out that this is the minimum and often far too low for the majority of women. In fact, knowing that we lose muscle mass starting at the age of 30, it's so important for anyone heading into perimenopause to start increasing their protein intake. Now, research backs up the benefits of getting in enough protein and shows that some of the health benefits with higher protein intake for women is weight management, it helps with hormone balance, it helps to maintain our precious muscle mass. And 100 grams of protein per day is maybe actually more helpful for us to strive to get in every single day, depending on your body size and your physical activity, of course. Now, I recommend prioritizing protein and shooting for a minimum of like 25 to 30 grams of protein with breakfast and then with each of your meals throughout the day. Research shows that eating more protein with breakfast, though, specifically, can help you optimize your daily protein intake, and it can help you keep your energy steady throughout the rest of the day. So if you have more questions about protein, then I'm going to encourage you to go back a couple of weeks and listen to the full podcast that I did on how much protein do women need. Okay, let's get into fruits and veggies, okay? Now, it is no surprise. We know that eating more fruits and vegetables is one of the best things that we can do for our health. A higher intake of colorful fruits and vegetables helps us live longer and it helps us to live healthier. From a woman's health point of view, these foods are really a girl's best friend because they help to support our hormone production and they help us to support our estrogen metabolism, which is huge to reducing a lot of the unpleasant symptoms that we are sometimes too familiar with. So the recommended servings of fruits and vegetables, if you didn't know this already, is 5 to 9 servings every single day. So typically a serving is equal to about 1 cup of raw veggies or about a half cup of cooked veggies or 1 medium-sized piece of fruit. So I would like to encourage people to add fruit and vegetables to breakfast and then see how you can add them throughout the day. And what this does is it really makes it easier for us to meet our daily needs. Okay, now the next one I want to talk about is fiber. Okay, we are not getting enough fiber, ladies. Why should we care? Well, fiber is essential. It's an essential carbohydrate that isn't absorbed and doesn't contribute to adding calories, but it fills us up and it makes us feel satisfied and it doesn't add, to the calorie count. So it's really great if you're trying to lose weight. It is also what's known as a prebiotic food. That means that it supports our digestive health. It does this by feeding that good beneficial bacteria, which are our probiotics, in the gut that are already living there. It is also awesome at balancing our blood sugar, which supports our hormone balance again and keeps the risk of disease all the way, just away from us. The recommended fiber intake is 25 grams daily. Did you know that? That's for an adult woman. If you're a man, it's 38 grams daily. Now, only around 5% of Americans meet this goal, with most people getting only around 16 grams per day. And I know we can do better. So I'm telling you that closing the fiber gap every single day can do wonders for your hormones. One way is by meeting the recommended daily servings of our fruits and vegetables every day because they're so full of fiber. Also, start including other high fiber plant foods in your diet. Like foods like legumes have lots of fiber, whole grains, obviously we know that, but also like nuts and seeds, also very good sources of fiber. Okay, so we have painted the picture of what a hormone-friendly breakfast looks like and what we want to include. But I know you're wondering how you can make this easier. Well, let me give you some meal ideas. First of all, let's talk about getting in that 30 grams of protein every single day. When I'm thinking of these meal suggestions, that's what I was aiming for. It's not going to always come out perfectly at that 30 grams, but it's going to get you close. Okay, the first one is like a Greek yogurt parfait. So what I love to do is I'll take a cup of non-fat Greek yogurt. That in and of itself is providing about 25 grams of protein. Also, if you can get like a really clean like granola that's out there that doesn't have any of those like hydrogenated fats or things like that. But get just a little bit, like a quarter cup of granola, put that on there. That'll also, especially if it has seeds and nuts in it, it'll add about 4 grams of protein. And then top it with some mixed berries, about a quarter cup of mixed berries. That's going to give you 1 gram of protein, but it's also going to give you lots of fiber. So if you combine this meal, it works out to be a really great meal and comes in really close to that 30 grams of protein. Another easy way to do this is to do a protein smoothie, okay? So just take a scoop of your protein powder. I usually like a plant-based protein powder. Some of you might enjoy a whey protein. That's the most common, one that's used. Some of you, though, that are lactose intolerant might need to be very careful about using a whey protein. So just choose your protein. Aim for a protein that is going to provide around 20 to 25 grams of protein. Add that. And then I usually will do a cup of almond milk. That's going to add another gram of protein. And then I like to add a little, like 2 tablespoons of almond butter, which that's going to add 6 grams of protein. And that's going to bring us into around 32 grams of protein. So there you go. That's a good meal there too. Also, can't go wrong with eggs in the morning and mixing them up with some veggies and making a scramble is delicious. So 3 large eggs is going to equal to be about 18 grams of protein. Okay, so and then take like a bell pepper and dice it up about a half a cup full and maybe some spinach and put that in there. And actually the bell peppers and the spinach also provide a little bit of protein, about 3 grams worth. And then what I like to do is add 2 slices of turkey bacon or some other kind of bacon. That's going to provide 9 grams of protein. And then altogether, you're getting out 30 grams of protein. Okay, let's give you a couple more ideas. So quinoa breakfast bowls. I like quinoa. Have you guys tried quinoa? I feel like 10 or so years ago when I would bring up quinoa, people are like, what is that? They didn't know what that was. It's delicious. And it is actually an incredibly high source of protein, plant-based protein for us. So take about a cup of cooked quinoa, which is going to provide you 8 grams of protein. Also, I know it sounds weird for breakfast, but it actually is really good. Take a half cup of black beans, okay? And then take a quarter cup of shredded cheese and mix that all up. And then take 2 fried eggs and then put them on top of those, the black beans and the quinoa. So good, 34 grams of protein. Another one that I love, this is something we do a lot at the office, is we use cottage cheese and we add a little fruit to it. So 1 cup of low-fat cottage cheese provides 28 grams of protein. And then you add your fruit. So like a half a cup of pineapple chunks, for instance, is really great. That even is going to provide about 1 gram of protein. And just doing that, you're getting 29 grams of protein. So you're really getting close to that 30 grams. Another one is a turkey and veggie omelet. So just use your 3 large eggs. Again, that gives you that 18 grams of protein. Throwing in the sliced turkey breast, really great. That's going to give you 27 grams of protein, which is amazing. Also, just adds a half cup of diced tomatoes and a little bit of spinach. That's going to provide about 2 grams of protein, but that's going to be a whopping protein meal, and that's going to give you almost 50 grams of protein. So it's great. It's a great way to, I'm going to have these hopefully available for you to look at in the show notes so that you can refer to them if you weren't taking notes during this little segment. But now that we've covered the importance of including protein and fiber and fruit and vegetables in our nutritious breakfast, let's cover some of the benefits of this breakfast for hormone balance, okay? So let's talk about balanced blood sugar. Now, I really want to drive home the point that a high protein, high fiber breakfast promotes blood sugar balance throughout the day. Not only will you see a smaller blood sugar spike after a healthy breakfast, but research shows the beneficial effects continue even after lunch and even after dinner. Now, balanced blood sugar means better metabolic health, which translates to all areas of our health, including shifting poor sleep into restful sleep that leaves you feeling like you have more energy the next day. Now, speaking of energy, when we eat a healthy, balanced breakfast with protein and fiber, then we're going to be running on our body's natural energy. Now, you might notice that you're less likely to reach for caffeine or sugar or any other quick energy source when you start your day off like that. So with a processed, unhealthy breakfast, though, you'll likely notice that your energy feels unstable with highs and lows going crazy throughout the day compared to the more ideal, stable energy between meals that comes from a balanced blood sugar breakfast. All right, let's talk specifically about happy hormones, okay? Happy hormones start with a balanced breakfast, especially in terms of insulin and adrenal gland hormones, especially cortisol, and with our sex hormones and our thyroid hormones as well. Now, a balanced breakfast brings hormone balance. It also helps with estrogen metabolism support. It improves fertility And it supports a reduction of symptoms from more severe hormonal imbalances like PCOS, PMS, perimenopause, which I'm going to get into a little bit more in just a second or two. The other thing that's also so important with this is so many of us never feel like we're getting in enough food. We feel like we're always hungry. So let's talk a little bit about satiety, okay? Research shows that those who skip breakfast or don't eat much early in the day have an increased hunger throughout the rest of the day. So this seems pretty obvious about why this would be the case. You know, our body is very good at trying to communicate what it needs by sending us hunger cues. Sometimes we can get in enough calories, but we are not getting in enough nutrients, and which is what our body is trying to tell us when it's giving us more of those hunger signals. It's trying to tell us that it needs better quality nutrients from protein and from healthy fat and from fruits and veggies that are full of fiber. So eating nutrient-lacking processed breakfast foods that spike our blood sugar can contribute to insulin resistance over time. So with repeated blood sugar spikes, what happens is the pancreas needs to just keep pumping out more and more insulin to help move the sugar into our cells. And over time, the cells become resistant to allowing the sugar inside. And instead, the sugar stays in the bloodstream, leading to insulin resistance and metabolic dysfunction. Now, because of this process, the message of eating less and exercising more doesn't capture the whole picture at all. It's more important to eat in a way that balances blood sugar and supports your underlying hormonal systems. Changing to a hormone-friendly breakfast supports the foundation of our hormone health. And it can support us ladies, especially those of us that are struggling with hormone imbalance conditions and symptoms. So I do want to go over a couple of these hormone imbalance situations. And so let me start first with PCOS, because this is a big one when it comes to insulin and blood sugar. So what is PCOS? I feel like maybe if you're new, you might not know. It stands for polycystic ovarian syndrome, and it is one of the most common endocrine disorders among women. It's a deep and complex condition that affects every woman differently. But one of the most common symptoms women with PCOS experience is insulin resistance and elevated testosterone. Okay, so some of the symptoms of PCOS include things like irregular or even missing periods, weight gain that's unexplained, getting acne or having hair loss, or having that male pattern hair growth, which is like hair growing in places that you don't want it. It's also connected to things like miscarriage and infertility, and it's definitely connected to premenstrual syndrome. Okay, so addressing PCOS symptoms requires a multifaceted approach, including developing a personalized PCOS diet to reduce inflammation and to reduce insulin. So starting your day with a high protein, blood sugar balancing breakfast is immensely supportive for especially those of you girls that have PCOS. So let's also though talk about PMS, which is a little bit more common. Now that stands for premenstrual syndrome. I say it's very common, but it is not normal, okay? But it comes along with things like symptoms like pain, bloating, and irritability before your period, and they can be very disruptive to your life. Now, luckily, nutrition strategies can be very supportive, and that's why Mixhers is even here, because getting the right nutrients in each day helps tremendously when it comes to reducing those symptoms. So if you are experiencing PMS symptoms, use her time and also focus on decreasing your sugar and refined carbs intake and pump up your fiber intake to balance out your excess estrogen. Now, that is the recipe, honestly, to say goodbye to symptoms that are associated with PMS. Now, there is a study that was done on Japanese women. And what it showed is it showed that skipping breakfast or infrequent breakfast are connected to increased menstrual pain. The reason is because the body perceives that there's more stress because you're going without food. So what I recommend is try a hearty quality breakfast throughout the month and notice if it helps to shift your PMS. I'm just telling you, it will. What we are doing today and tomorrow and then so on is what is actually setting us up for how we feel next month during next month's period. So it's so important that we're making good, healthy choices on a consistent basis. Okay, let's go into perimenopause, okay? Perimenopause is the transition to menopause where women experience things like estrogen fluctuations and a host of hormone-related symptoms, things like hot flashes and night sweats. They experience weight gain, mood changes, and so much more. Now, interestingly, there is a connection between insulin resistance and perimenopause because our estrogen declines during perimenopause. Women naturally then become more insulin resistant in perimenopause and menopause. This metabolic shift makes it even more important to use food as a tool to balance blood sugar and to support our hormones. Start with breakfast. And now we also have a tool that's known as Mixhers Metabolic Balance. I know so many of you have been using it already. Both of these things can really help to set us up for success for the day. Now, as we've been discussing, insulin and adrenal hormones like cortisol are the foundation of hormonal health. Our breakfast choices significantly influence these hormones throughout the day. The worst breakfast foods create imbalances, while the best choices support balance. Now, in most cases, excluding those that have diabetes or other metabolic issues, managing insulin has everything to do with balancing your blood sugar. Insulin resistance is an underlying contributor to hormone imbalances and diseases like from PCOS to heart disease. And then as we get older, thinking about the insulin response is absolutely essential. So if you're on a blood sugar roller coaster because of skipping breakfast or because you are eating a high refined carb breakfast, stress increases. And then what's going to happen is your adrenals then need to produce more cortisol. So when addressing adrenal imbalances, also called HPA axis dysfunction or adrenal fatigue, breakfast is actually the best medicine. It's critical to regulate and balance our healthy circadian rhythm. It also is so important for us to just be able to reduce the negative effects of stress on our body. Eating a high protein breakfast is going to, and minimizing our sugar intake and meeting our nutrient needs is going to help to stabilize our adrenal health and makes your hormones feel so balanced and you just feel so happy. So anyways, I am so happy that you tuned in today. Thank you so much for being here. Who knew that breakfast would be such a fun and interesting topic? Well, now we all know why breakfast can either set us up for success or set us up for failure. I hope that we all find success. If you found this episode helpful, please share this episode with the girls in your life. Sharing is caring. And I know that it's so important for us to be able to help grow the show, to help as many women as possible. I will be back again next week with another empowering episode. And be sure to join me every single week. We are on a mission to help every woman feel like she understands her hormones, her health, and that she can be her own best health advocate. And now, until next time, please have a very happy and healthy week. Bye.